Well, that's what's happening with us, and why our consciousness is speeding up, and things are speeding up. We're at that point where it almost goes flat. That is what's called 0 point, and that is supposed to occur somewhere around 2012. NASA knows that the electromagnetic frequencies are coming down in our environment, except it's artificially being stimulated upwards because we now have 100 million times more electromagnetics than our grandparents had due to all this technology.
Yay for technology.
Carrying around cell phones, you are literally an antenna.
Yeah.
So we are just basically feeding this environment with electromagnetics to keep what? To keep the muck up. The muck is coming down, and people are starting to see through it. The vile veil of evil, as I once said. And they're seeing that they can really live without fear. As this is occurring, electromagnetics are coming down, energetic frequencies are raising on planet Earth. They're supposed to meet it somewhere around 2012, they estimate. Knowing this, as this planet basically is prompting us now to get used to the fact NASA has had to, and other people have had to deal with the physical effects of this.
Mm-hmm.
Runways at the end of airports, they have a compass heading. These compass headings were off by several miles over time. Then they had to repaint those compass headings to get the planes back on course. Why? Because the Earth is coming back and they're not working anymore. And she's going to 0 point.
My question to you is, it's coming back to 0 point, but is it going to go to the other side now?
No.
So it's
she's
just going to stay...
basically, the mother is in a state of recovering from a slap that knocked her off her side. Because if we get back to the story about the gods, putting a dummy base on a planet called Tiamat, which the Egyptians spoke of, and the Vedics, I believe, had some form or another of her name, and the Egyptians and whoever, the Sumerians also.
I think the Maharishi speak of that as well.
Okay. Here's the point. This Tiamat was a big planet like Jupiter, very watery, and this wreaked havoc on our solar system. So whether Tiamat got exploded and now the remainder is the asteroid belt, frozen ice and chunks of whatever, a lot of it hit planet Earth. And when it did, it turned everything, as they put in the text, asunder. What was up went down, what was down went up. So in other words, it was like a big ripple effect or a wave occurred in the magma surface of the planet, which caused Atlantis, Lemuria, and Mu to go down and other places to come up. That's why they have found porpoise bones at 14,000 feet and pyramids at the bottom of the ocean. Look up forbidden archaeology, it will blow your mind. And while you're at it, look up giants. And there were giants in the earth in those days. So there's a lot of truth written in that text we call
Hell,
the Bible.
There are giants here in California.
They've just discovered them. Most recently, a couple of years ago in LA, they were building a house, and they found a fully intact skeleton of a 12-foot man. And that's not the biggest one they have found.
That's like
You can go right on YouTube and find pictures of giants being excavated.
I'll try to put a reputable link in the sidebar, folks.
Okay. So knowing that this is a natural process, that these caps are going to melt anyway. Now people go, is the world going to flood? I think the waters may rise a little.
They're already rising about
it's like,
4 feet.
Let's just take a glass of water as an example. And I fill the water to the top, and I get a roll of dimes. Okay? And I drop the whole roll in, and the water goes all over. But if I drop it in 1 dime at a time, it stretches the skin and it never goes over the edge. Now, when I put a glass of ice out on a table and I fill it with water, when the ice melts, does it run over?
No.
It's already accounted for. Okay?
And actually, it'll go down a bit.
It may fill and find in places that it's supposed to. And how the hell can they tell us, here's another fear, that we're having a water shortage? We live on a planet that's 2/3 water, a bunch of fresh water is frozen, and it can be desalinated. So the cost of desalinizing water is somehow expensive only because someone put that subjective reality on
Of course. I mean, even the bay out here could be
let go of the fear that it was our fault, our guilt, that this occurred. Hey, I don't pump into the station and say I want maple syrup or French fry oil in my engine because I had to buy the car that they sold me, which is run on that product. It's a big conglomeration or a conspiracy of control. It ain't about money, people. And we didn't go to Iraq about oil. There's more to that story, and I'll get to that too one day.
Okay.
Okay?
That'll be a much later video.
That's an interesting story. I did tell you some of it.
You did, and that was... If what you say is true, it's going to be really interesting, folks.
So here's the thing. If we could take that fear and guilt away about the future, that's one less aspect of your consciousness they own. Anyone who you can generate fear in you, they own you. In fact, anyone who can cause you to piss you off, to do things you don't like, to cut you off in the road, they own your consciousness at the moment you feed negative energy into them. So the idea is to stay completely positive. And the only way to stay positive about the future is to know what's going to come down the road, or the possibilities thereof, which are positive. But someone, the very same someone of they, let's just say, they, know that through our consciousness, we can connect like the 100 monkeys and bring about a different alternative ending than the one that they're planning for us. Now, they're not only planning it for us, they're getting us to create it by believing in it. Etymology teaches us that be and leave are be and live. So when you believe something, even though it might be a subjective reality, like some abstract concept like a war on terror, what do you fight that with? An invisible ray? How do you fight an abstract? Well, by the way, this is the dialogue that Hitler used as well. The war on terror. Protecting the fatherland, protecting the homeland. And then when you study the history of these families and you find out there's a strange twist to that tale of Hitler, and even leading back to Abraham Lincoln, and when you study the Masons as I have, and that's why I say I would rather, and I mean the higher up the sonic orders from 33 up to, I think, the 54th degree, whatever they have, whatever their little society is all about, a lot of people are curious, but they're afraid. They're afraid to look into it. So don't even bother. Just take the evidence as I reveal it over these many recordings and just kind of piece it together for yourself. And that's really what I'm not here to form an opinion. I'm here to help you formulate your own. But the only way you can do that is to let go of fear. So the first thing you know is planet Earth is going back to zero. The ice is going to melt. The consciousness that the mother put at both poles to keep the whole self alive will no longer have to suffer those insufferable years and years of their life in Arctic conditions, which aren't really native to this experience. But they as souls, the polar bears, the Arctic fox, the penguins, and all the other creatures that inhabited that zone to keep consciousness alive, will now no longer have to suffer, and now we call it extinction as if it's our fault. I don't run big safaris over in Africa. It's not my fault that the animals are dying over there. This is the fault of people who are obsessed with control, and they need to control our consciousness so they can keep their little order in order. And the upper 1% controls everything. Our consciousness through the media, and when we get to discussions about the subconscious self and how you can take all that energy that you poured into all those false belief systems all these years, and you learn how to manage and what the interpretation of the chakras mean. Now, I know a lot of people that are going to be watching this are already, I hope and pray, part of the psychic children. And even as I'm sitting here, that they're reading my aura, and they're seeing my congruency and truth when I speak these things. I've met with deities. I know my own angelic nature, why I'm here, what the message I'm supposed to bring is at this time. Strange life. I've been literally led all over. I've done the most dangerous job in the world. I worked in the City of Angels for 10 years in the film industry. Met every big star you see on Us in Weekly Magazine while you're standing in the checkout aisle. And I know a lot of stuff about how they don't mirror society, they create society. But once in a while they reveal society and that creation in films like The Matrix.
There are a lot of...
And the parallels.
Parallels
between
in The
life
Matrix.
and choices. And Neo, which was the new, becoming the one. That is us. We're this new species almost. You know? But they try and keep us separated by saying this race and that race. There's only one race. The human race. And who would want us to divide ourselves? Those that want to conquer us. Now, who would do that? Extraterrestrials? Those who are not of this place? More than likely, that'll lead you down that road to understand it. So, knowing that the 100th monkey is what it is, knowing that on September 11th, the hearts of the world got together and created an electromagnetic spike unbeknownst to themselves that they were doing this, is how we're going to wind up getting into a positive aspect of 2012 and beyond. Truth is going to disempower those that have always hid in the shadows that were created when they got in between the fact that we are this God that they say is separate from us, and it's actually us.